to the floor, right, wins this battle. That's Sophie Cunningham. Wow, I thought Van Loo grabbed her by the neck. Sophie, thankfully and fortunately, let that one go. They both got up smiling.
Sophie Cunningham finally talked about the most unfair loss of the season, and her 6 words will give you goosebumps. The Indiana Fever basketball team just lost to the worst team in the WNBA, the Los Angeles Sparks, for the second time this season. But this wasn't just any loss. This was a heartbreaking 89-87 defeat that ended their 3-game winning streak. There were dirty plays, terrible referees, and Sophie getting grabbed around the neck with no foul called. Her reaction, a smile, and a laugh. What exactly did Sophie say after the game that changes everything about how we see this team's fighting spirit? If you support Sophie and the Fever, then comment below, Spicy Sophie. Let's go.
We have a fun group, we have a goofy group, but sometimes you kind of need to get pissed off a little bit and dial in. I think that's what you saw today.
Picture this. The Indiana Fever were having the best time of their season just days ago. They had just beaten 3 of the league's top teams in a row. First, they beat Paige Buchers and the Dallas Wings in an amazing game. Then, they totally destroyed the Minnesota Lynx to win their first Commissioner's Cup championship. But the best part, they completely beat AJ Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces in a game that had everyone talking about their championship potential.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell, not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2.
It's good recognition.
And let's remember that Caitlin Clark was hurt all this time. Their superstar who made everything work was watching from the bench with a left groin injury. This was already her 10th missed game of the season, and you could see the difference right away. The Fever's entire style changed without Clark running the show. Their speed slowed down a lot. The ball passing that made them so dangerous just wasn't there anymore. Aaliyah Boston, who plays amazingly when she gets the ball in the paint, wasn't getting nearly enough passes to play her natural style.
This is a game where it's been great to have Caitlin Clark back in the second half. Just an extra playmaker on the court, doing the things Caitlin Clark does. But I'm glad if it's rest or no rest. Last time she came back early, and guess what happened? She was overcompensating. Yeah, actually 70-80%, she ended up getting another injury and being out twice as long instead of just holding off till she was 100%. And also coming back for one Sparks game.
But here's the crazy part. The Fever was still expected to win this game. ESPN gave them a 72.9% chance of winning. Vegas had them favored by 6.5 points. This was supposed to be an easy win against one of the worst teams in the league. The Sparks came into this game with a terrible 5-13 record. The Fever were missing Clark. Sure, Darius Dontis was playing for her country in the FIBA Americas, and Dana Bonner, she just quit on the team entirely, but they were still expected to handle business.
Indiana Fever fans, we came up short. We lost in the final seconds of each game, 89-87. We were up by 6 points with 5 minutes left, and also up by 4 points with 1:40.
The cruel irony hit differently though. The Sparks had already beaten the Fever once this season when they were at full strength. Now here they were, missing players and struggling, facing the same team that had embarrassed them before. The final score tells the whole story. 89-87, 2 points. The Fever missed their last 5 shots, including 4 in the final minute. They had championship dreams just days ago. Now those dreams felt fragile without their superstar leading the charge, but the score was just the beginning of what made this loss so devastating. The real controversy was about to unfold.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half. I have everything.
Here's where the night took a dark turn that had Coach Stephanie White seeing red. The game was close, tensions were high, and then the referees started making calls that left everyone speechless. You could feel the frustration building as the officials seemed to lose control of what should have been a straightforward game.
I don't get it. Brianna Stewart, Aja Wilson, wait until you what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble. She's a tired season. They're still putting up tight numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? A phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality here, and it's foul after foul after foul, second half.
Julie Van Loo grabbed Sophie Cunningham around the neck during a loose ball scramble. This wasn't some minor contact. This was a clear foul that should have been called immediately. The grab happened right in front of the officials. Yet, the whistle stayed silent and you could see Sophie's reaction in real time. That smile, that laugh. But this wasn't because it was funny. Sophie knew the refs weren't protecting anyone out there.
To the floor, right? Wins this battle. That's Sophie Cunningham. Wow, I thought Van Loo grabbed her by the neck. Sophie, thankfully and fortunately, let that one go. They both got up smiling.
The scene painted itself perfectly. Sophie getting grabbed around the face and neck. No call. Meanwhile, the referees were spending way too much time reviewing clean defensive plays. Sydney Colson made a perfect block that got called a foul. Initially, the refs had to review it for what felt like forever just to overturn an obvious mistake. But actual fouls, those went uncalled all night long.
This is what I was talking about with Sophie Cunningham. Look at this. She literally grabbed her around her neck. And they called this a jump ball. And then threw her down the next play.
These calls happened in the final minutes when every possession mattered most. The Fever were fighting for their lives, trying to close out a game they should have won easily. Instead, they were battling both the Sparks and the officials. You could see the pattern becoming clear. The double standard that's been plaguing the Fever all season long. The inconsistent officiating wasn't just frustrating. It was dangerous. When you don't protect players from contact, like what happened to Sophie, you're sending a message that anything goes. The referees seem to be making calls that favor the Sparks while leaving Fever players vulnerable to whatever comes their way.
And then threw her down the next play. And then Aaliyah Boston, like I said, she didn't touch her. They put her in foul trouble all season long. They're just calling stuff. The refs made this game about them. Aaliyah Boston, again, she's an all-star player. Look at these hits. Good thing Caitlin Clark didn't play because it was just a sloppy basketball game between the officials and the Los Angeles Sparks. Look at this. They called this a foul instead of a block. And then there's Aaliyah Boston again. That's 3 fouls where she didn't touch anybody. And that's our best player and wonder why we lose this game. Michaela Simpson, watch these 2 calls in a row. She didn't do anything. She got hit on that one and they called a foul on her.
Coach White's post-game press conference said everything you needed to know. When asked about the game's outcome, she delivered 4 words that cut straight to the heart of the problem. We didn't get the calls. That simple statement captured the widespread feeling that the referees had unfairly impacted the game. White wasn't making excuses. She was stating facts.
This is 4th quarter. Look at this. This one pissed me off. Kelsey Plum seriously elbows Lexi Hall, then purposely steps over so she couldn't get out. Lexi Hall can't believe it. That's a foul. The ref was right there in front of her. And then here we go. And they kept McDonald in foul trouble the entire game. There's 2 in a row where she didn't do anything. Look at that. Just had her arms in the air, but they gave, this is the 4th quarter. And they just kept giving every single call. I like Leah Boston finally getting pissed off. Then they call this away from the ball in the 4th quarter. Nothing going on. Just put him at the line, and then Kelsey Plum, another one. But when Howard drives and gets slashed across the face, no foul, just out of bounds.
The officiating reached a new low that night. The failure to protect players from dangerous contact while spending endless time reviewing clean plays showed a complete lack of focus on player safety. This inconsistency undermined everything that the league claims to stand for. It cost the Fever a game they should have won, and it highlighted the ongoing problem with how certain teams and players get treated differently by officials. But even through all this chaos and controversy, individual Fever players refused to let the circumstances define them. Even as everything fell apart around them, 3 Fever players refused to give up the fight. They showed the heart and determination that makes this team special, even when the odds were stacked against them. Aaliyah Boston stepped up huge with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Boston shot 9 of 17 from the field and knocked down 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Her efficiency was exactly what the Fever needed without Clark running the offense. Boston dominated the paint, grabbed rebounds, and created second-chance opportunities. She was everywhere on the court, making plays that kept the Fever competitive. But her dominant performance got overshadowed by the chaos and poor officiating around her. You could see the frustration on her face as she did everything right, only to watch the game slip away.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound rolls it in and a foul. Two bigs bring the ball up the floor. And Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace and burst like a guard? Gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell's leadership shone through with 19 points, including 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. Her three-pointers came at crucial moments when the team needed a scoring boost. This was actually Mitchell's 251st game for the Fever, placing her second in franchise history behind Tamika Catchings. That tells you everything about her dedication to this organization. Mitchell stepped up when it mattered most, hitting clutch shots that kept the Fever within striking distance.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes.